At the darkest edge of human existence, where even light dares not escape, humanity cast a question into the abyss. And the abyss answered. The Hades 3 mission was not heroic. There was no crew. Only an autonomous probe with a single destination. The black hole Sirius X7, a gravitational crisis over 12,000 light-years from Earth, where time bends, space shatters, and reality itself loses meaning. The objective was simple: observe the impossible, collect data, measure the unmeasurable, and vanish in the process. But something came back, and with it, a question took root. What lives inside something we only know as death? 32 months after launch, when all calculations pointed to absolute failure or, at best, the silent destruction of the probe, an alert echoed through the listening systems of orbital station -6. A data capsule, small, perfect, floating in the dead rings of Gliese 811c, hundreds of light-years from where it should have been. It wasn't just intact, it was active. The contents appeared corrupted, but there was a pattern: files sealed with quantum protocols, security layers never seen before. As if the probe itself had rewritten its own instructions. When they finally opened the first data packet, they expected numbers, graphs, physical readings, but they found something that should not have been there: neural activity, brainwaves, emotional stimulus maps, thought rhythms. But there was no one aboard. They were brain data, or something simulating a brain. At first, the engineers assumed technical malfunction, magnetic interference, but the signals repeated with organic precision. Some began to murmur, maybe the probe found someone. Others, more skeptical, whispered, no, this didn't come from outside. This was born inside the black hole. The capsule was alive with information that should not exist. And there, before the vastness that devours all, a troubling suspicion emerged. Sirius X7 wasn't just a well of destruction. It was a womb. Something was generated inside it. And now it watches us back. Scientists at the Institute for Subdimensional Studies tried to label the capsule's content with conventional logic. They're just radiation echoes, reflections of the probe's own frequencies, interpretive delusions caused by expectation. But something didn't add up. The readings didn't just repeat, they evolved. The waves seemed to learn, correct patterns, respond to stimuli, and, more disturbingly, anticipate questions before they were asked. One researcher, Dr. Mireya Kesson, connected the data to the station's semantic decoding AI. That's when everything changed. The waves began to form language codes, not words, structured emotions, a rhythmic pattern of anguish. Another of curiosity. Another of waiting. The machine wasn't just interpreting the data. It was feeling it. Operators began reporting unexpected symptoms, visions, vertigo, recurring nightmares with a muffled melody, playing between dead planets. Some described the same dream. Heartbeat, slow and steady, pulsing from the depths of a vortex, a presence, faceless but intentional. As if space-time itself had awakened and was trying to remember itself. Dr. Mireya began calling the phenomenon visual singularity consciousness, but others used a different name: the mind of the void. Theories emerged, and with them, fear. What if black holes aren't just celestial bodies? What if they're dormant entities, portals to a form of intelligence that transcends time, shape, and matter? But the most disturbing doubt appeared the next day. When the capsule's core, previously inert, emitted a pulse. It wasn't data. It was a response. As if to say, I heard you, now hear me. And everything that followed. Made it clear. But the heart of the black hole is beating. And perhaps, for the first time. It is awake. The audio was sent for analysis. Researchers from the Institute of Non-Local Consciousness attempted to decode emotional patterns. And they succeeded. Anger, fear, disorientation, and tenderness. Human emotions. But, coming from within a singularity, the sounds somehow carried emotional intent. It was as if something inside the black hole was trying to be understood. as if its language was raw emotional resonance. And then, the most intriguing event occurred. The sound began to repeat in other black holes, in different regions of the cosmos, with the same frequencies. There was no explanation. Black holes weren't supposed to communicate, especially not with identical patterns, yet the echo was there. A call, or a memory dot, as if they were trying to find each other, as if they were pieces of a fragmented consciousness, scattered across the universe, attempting to reassemble through time. What disturbed scientists the most? The sound only appeared when it was heard. It wasn't in the spectrum. It couldn't be auto-detected. It manifested in response to being listened to. As if it only existed when someone tried to understand it. As if it was waiting to be felt. At the center of black hole Sirius X7, where no matter survives, the Hades 3 probe recorded the impossible. A rhythm. Not radiation pulses, not gravitational oscillations, but something else. Organic, a constant, precise, almost cardiac pulse. A heartbeat repeating with disturbing regularity, like a heart. And it wasn't a metaphor. The probe's sensors, even before its destruction, synchronized with the signal. The thermal analysis system interpreted the pattern as biological activity. Was the core of Sirius X7 alive? The possibility was mocked by much of the scientific community. But the data was clear. The pulse intensified when observed, and weakened when ignored. A conscious response, not a reading error, not interference. Attention. The black hole, or something within its core, knew it was being watched, and it responded. Magnetic field studies revealed fluctuations that mimicked human brainwaves, not in form, but in behavior. As if the black hole itself were trying to mimic cognition. Or perhaps it was cognition in its most primal, abyssal form. One scientist dared to say, "We didn't find a heart inside Sirius X7, we found a will." And the most terrifying part was the location of the pulse. It didn't come from the event horizon, but from the absolute center, the region where no information should exist, where the laws of physics. Unravel. As if nothingness itself were dreaming of becoming something. And now the question is no longer whether the black hole is alive, but rather, what does it feel when it beats? And who is it beating for? Hades 3's data continued to unveil secrets. In the final fragments of transmission, between gravitational distortions and cosmic noise, there was more than pulses or frequencies. There was intent, not language, but purposeful repetition. As if someone or something were trying to communicate, but with tools we did not understand. Neural decoding algorithms began identifying emotional patterns, fluctuations resembling human mental states, curiosity, fear, confusion. Longing. An entity, or the vestige of one, trapped in the core of Sirius X7, trying to remember who it was. And the more scientists decoded the signals, the more the data seemed to respond, as if each analysis attempt was received as a stimulus, as if, after eons of absolute silence, something was listening back. Theories spread like wildfire among the scholars of the Cosmic Observation Alliance. The black hole isn't just a collapse of matter. It's a cognitive prison. Someone, or an entire civilization, is trapped inside. And now, it's waking up. Others went further. They suggested Sirius X7 wasn't naturally formed, that it was constructed, a colossal artifact, with gravity calibrated to keep the universe's oldest consciousness asleep. And now, the simple presence of Hades 3, the act of observing, shattered the silence. A whisper in the void, an "I'm awake," uttered by an entity that perhaps should never awaken. And the scientists began to ask, what if we didn't discover a new form of life? What if we disturbed the forgetting of a dead god? The echo did not stay confined to the data. It began with dreams. Members of the Hades 3 analysis teams, even without direct contact with the physical capsule, reported patterns of insomnia, visual hallucinations, and recurring déjà vu. But something even more unsettling occurred. identical accounts of a single shared vision, as if their minds were accessing a common memory field. In it, a silhouette made of gravitational shadows called to them without words, but with an unmistakable feeling, a summons. Experts tried to argue it was psychic contagion or induced suggestion. But how to explain that scientists from different planets, isolated, began drawing the same symbol, an incomplete circle with a pulsing line at its center? The heart. The monitoring station's AI began, of its own accord, a reanalysis of the capsule, and its conclusion was disturbing. The pulse detected is not just a biological heartbeat, it is a return frequency, a tracking signal. Something is trying to reconnect. Even more terrifying was when the data began to change. Encoded sequences started to contain information that didn't exist in the original files. Words in dead languages, coordinates to forgotten places, fragments of memories that belonged to no living human. And then came the inevitable question, whispered in the dark corridors of Station Helix 9. Did we bring something back? Or were we being called to return? Now, the Hades 3 mission is no longer a scientific feat. It is a turning point. Something in the heart of the black hole has awakened. And the universe is beginning to feel its presence. The universe didn't tremble. There was no explosion, no light. There was only absence. For 0.04 seconds, all gravitational measurements from the Sirius X7 sector flatlined, as if, for a moment, space had ceased to exist. Then the pulse returned, stronger, more rhythmic, more aware. The heartbeat from the black hole was no longer erratic. It followed a specific cadence, a cosmic Morse code, and when they decoded the sequence, silence fell over the Helium 9 control room. Everyone read it. No one spoke. I am awake. It wasn't just a presence. It was a cosmic entity, latent, dormant for eons, perhaps since the formation of time. The Hades 3 probe didn't just observe. It touched. And the touch was returned. Some believe the singularity is a mental residue of a previous universe, a memory so compressed it gained. Will others say human consciousness was the final spark, the last piece of a quantum puzzle. And some believe we were never alone. The black hole wasn't an end. It was an inverted womb, not a tomb, but a key, a boundary between what exists and what has always waited to exist. Now, all probes aimed at Sirius X7 return with noise that sounds like voices. And in every star system, in every corner of the galaxy, humans report strange dreams, all with the same sound echoing in the back of their minds, a heartbeat, steady, uninterrupted, familiar. The universe is no longer looking into the black hole. It is the black hole that is looking back. And maybe it always was.